What's going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. Guys, wanted to bring you the recap video. Indianapolis Colts lose another game, another blowout loss, their second blowout loss in the last 3 weeks. Losing 29-10 against the Atlanta Falcons. Colts team that scored on their opening drive and scored 3 points the rest of the way. This was just an absolutely pitiful performance by the Indianapolis Colts today. Virtually no one was safe today. At the end of the day, this makes it easy to do a recap because everybody lost. Everybody was down bad today. Let's just go ahead and break it down here. Gardner Minshew, 20 of 37, 201 yards, 1 interception, sacked 6 times. Gardner did not have himself a good day. He was definitely off. He didn't have a good one. He was missing receivers high. He was off target. A couple times he walked himself into sacks that weren't there beforehand, and he did not execute very well today, and that definitely showed. It was just a pitiful performance. It was one of his worst ones that he's had yet this year, and it's not going to get the job done. And then it really showed just how bad the Colts were missing Michael Pittman today, because Gardner just looked lost, which is so strange because in the last week's game, he looked pretty good. He did not need Michael Pittman in that second half of that game. And sure enough, it seemed like that was the only thing that could have probably gotten some offense going, was that. So Gardner, not a great day. Jonathan Taylor did not have himself a good day either. 18 carries for 43 yards and a touchdown. Again, got half of those stats and on the first drive. Jonathan Taylor did not look great today. As a matter of fact, there were multiple times where Jonathan Taylor basically ran into places that he shouldn't have gone, and there was multiple times he could have gone. There was multiple other lanes he could have ran to the outside, but it just wasn't working for him. It wasn't a great day by Jonathan Taylor. And then receiving wise, Kylan Granson, 5 catches for 62 yards. Will Mallory, 4 catches for 47 yards. So your 2 tight ends accounted for over half of your receiving yards on the day. Goes to show you just how much Pittman was missed and what was working and what wasn't. Receivers dropping passes, and other times Minshew not hitting them in the right spot. It was all around just everything. And then, of course, we got to go to the offensive line. Offensive line couldn't run block, couldn't pass block efficiently either. It honestly looked like the worst the offensive line has looked all year, from every perspective, from blocking for Minshew and for run blocking. It was just not offensively. They looked so flat after that first drive. And it's so strange because that first drive, Indy had everything they wanted going for it. Everything they wanted. And yet somehow, some way, they just couldn't get anything going after that. I couldn't understand it. It was just offensive line not blocking well, and then nothing else went after that. Even if Indianapolis made it to Atlanta's side of the field, they would eventually fail. And that just is one of those things where really hope Michael Pittman's back next week, and I hope Shane Steichen can get more out of this unit, because Indy still has a chance at the playoffs, but if that offense plays like that, then this Indy team is in deep, deep trouble. Now, as far as the defense, again, another one of those performances, it was terrible. The Indianapolis Colts could not do anything defensively to stop them. Today, the Atlanta Falcons, who leading up to that game were not running the football well, ran for 177 yards today. That was averaging 6 yards a carry against this Colts defense. This Colts defense, regardless if it signs Grover Stewart or not, something needs to be fixed with this rush defense, because this rush defense is terrible. Even if the Colts re-sign Grover Stewart, even if something needs to be done to fix the Colts rush defense, because clearly even having Grover Stewart out there is not enough. It's not fixing the problem. As a matter of fact, it's only getting worse. So the Colts need to figure that out, whether that's a new coordinator, whether that's a new scheme, whether that I don't know what to expect, but Indy needs to get better at stopping the run. And it also just basically says a lot when Bijan Robinson was their leading receiver. He had the most receptions, and it wasn't even close, and he had the most yardage. I mean, Bijan Robinson, it was the Bijan Robinson play today. Touched the ball 19 times and got 122 yards on the day. So this is a guy that came out and he played, and the Colts defense could not stop him. We couldn't stop Pitts early in the game. Drake London had a couple big catches. Jonnu Smith had a couple good ones. It just seemed like every time Taylor Heineke threw the football, it just seemed like Indianapolis never had an answer. And that angers me because, I mean, again, this was not an elite offense. I think that might be the most points that the Falcons have scored all year long. If I could go ahead and take a look at it, it actually is. It's the most points that the Falcons have scored all year long against a team whose head coach had to switch quarterbacks at the beginning of the week, and has been talked about his job is on the line. And yet this defense could not do anything to stop the Falcons. Honestly, they got lucky that the Falcons were as bad as they were when they got to our side of the field. But it felt like only one time today that the Falcons got stopped on their side of the field. It felt like every drive they were on our side of the field. And I'm fed up with this Colts defense. I'm fed up with the scheme. Something needs to change. I don't know what it is, but clearly we knew this Colts defense was going to have its growing pains, clearly. But this scheme and whatever else is going on, I don't understand what's wrong with this defense, especially since today they could not tackle anyone to save their life. Could not tackle anyone. I don't know why all of a sudden the Colts just couldn't tackle, but and that is what brings me to the core of this, is that the last couple weeks, Indy has had blowout performances. And when you have blowout performances on the losing end, you have to start looking at coaching. Do I think that Shane Steichen had a good game? Of course not. I think Shane Steichen needs to try to I don't know what he needs to do to try to fix the team. It's so strange because early in the year, this team was, pulling together some big moments. And it just seems like now either the Colts are blowing other teams out or they're getting blown out. And I don't know if it's It just feels like it's everything. And that's why I can't put all the blame on Shane Steichen, or even put the majority of the blame on Shane Steichen, because there were plenty of times it felt like today it was mainly just a player execution problem. It literally just felt like a player execution problem. And that is a situation where it's not as much on the coaches. You have to look at the players and say, why did you guys underperform today? And it's clear it was a player problem most of the time. Receivers dropping passes, defensive players not tackling, offensive line couldn't block, Gardner Minshew couldn't throw the football. Like the list went on and on and on. So, I mean, and the fact that we also couldn't get pressure on Taylor Heinicke, that is what pisses me off the most. And it's what makes me want Gus Bradley gone. You knew throughout this whole game that the Colts were not getting consistent pressure on Heinicke. And yet you refused to send blitzes to Heinicke. On the rare occasions that you did send a blitz, over half the time, you forced them into plays that they didn't want to have to make. And that's what infuriates me the most, is that we've seen that when this team gets aggressive, this team has a better chance of making plays. But yet somehow, some way, even when the Colts are not making plays and not getting consistent pressure, Gus Bradley refuses to make adjustments. And it irritates me. I know we have rookie corners. I know that we're a young team. And this team is only going to get better from a talent standpoint. But you have to understand, your job as a coordinator is to see when things are not going right and to make adjustments. And Gus Bradley is the most stubborn coordinator in the NFL at making adjustments. And it really hurt the Indianapolis Colts today, because the Atlanta Falcons just picked us apart. They picked us apart because we couldn't get pressure on Heinicke and we couldn't stop the run. And, I mean, yes, like I said, the defense is as much to blame as anyone else for not making plays, not making those big plays in the secondary, and not tackling in the run game. But at the same time, you saw that they weren't getting pressure on the quarterback. You refused to make adjustments. And that is what pisses me off the most about it. So, and again, with Shane Steichen, the only problem with Shane was that whatever he decided to run, the Indianapolis Colts just couldn't do it. Unless it was a play to a tight end, no plays were being made. Taylor wasn't doing anything. The offensive line wasn't doing anything. Gardner Minshew wasn't doing anything. Alec Pierce and Josh Downs weren't doing anything. It's just one of those games, man, where Indy just got beat down, and it sucks because this team is on the verge of making the playoffs, and you see them playing like this, and it really is infuriating. And especially with, I mean, this Raiders team that you have coming into town, that it plays really well, and then you have Houston, who has just as much on the line as you do. So it is very unfortunate to see the Colts lose like this. Thankfully, the Texans lost. I don't know what's going to happen with the Jags, but yeah, this was definitely the second worst performance from the Indianapolis Colts that we have seen all year long. And it's hopefully not going to be a continuing trend. But that's going to do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts on this game. Thank you so much. And as always, go Colts.